Social media platforms might have 1,000 fallacies, but one thing they have got right is that the platform peels off the masks of those who are cowards, fundamentalists, mentally bankrupt sadists, deriving pleasure from the death of someone, all the while trying to masquerade themselves as citizens of the civil society. They are enemies of India, and they love being among us. Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat himself coined a term for this, that for India, it is a two-and-a-half-front war. A war with Pakistan, a war with China, and a war with the enemies within. That half emerged from the shadows and revealed itself as the celebrated General Bipin Rawat's tragic demise. Hi and welcome. You're watching TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm Siddharth, your host. In this video, I will tell you how a significant chunk of the usual suspects celebrated CDS General Bipin Rawat and his wife's tragic demise. Let's begin. India lost its braveheart and first Chief of Defence Staff on Wednesday after the helicopter carrying CDS Bipin Rawat, his wife Madhulika Rawat and 12 others crashed at Tamil Nadu's Kunnur. The crash took place shortly after the Russian-made chopper took off from the Air Force Base in Sulur, Coimbatore, for Wellington in the Nilgiri Hills. After the news of Chief of Defence Staff Bipin Rawat's accident hit the newsstands, a significant chunk of the usual suspects, populace, rejoiced. Some cheered, some wished him death, while some settled their scores. It is a sad state of affairs that society is hyperpolarized to an extent that a person who spent his entire life trying to fight the monsters outside was not demonized by them but by his own people. The realms of social media were replete with such elements that bared themselves naked and showed their mental bankruptcy and lack of humanity. In most news stories regarding the accident, the laughing reactions came from the Muslim community and its people. A Mustafa Riaz from Hyderabad, studying at Osmania University, tweeted a very offensive message. However, after Hyderabad's cyber police landed under his tweet, Riaz protected his account and changed his name to Anshul Saxena while adding Proud Indian, RSS and Om Shanti to avoid the heat. One Asif, who remarked that he is a Muslim in his bio and not a Hindutva fan, said there was no reason to be sad except one that someone else would take Rawat's place. He also declared that this is like a mini Eid for them. Pakistan's B team operating in India, going by the name National Herald, and its editor Sanjukta Basu shared a tone-deaf statement that showed exactly where Congress as a party was heading and what kind of editorial line the Congress mouthpiece took in case of national security. The Rahul Gandhi fanboy replied to a tweet that called the CDS a warmongering chief. I have been trying not to say anything. Self-censoring because okay, tragic death and all, but yeah. Just a weeks back, he excitedly supported lynching of Kashmiri terrorists, People should not wish cruel death for others, even if they are terrorists. Ashlyn Matthew, working alongside Basu, posted a tweet saying divine intervention, supposedly referring to the tragedy. However, after the backlash ensued, Matthew deleted the tweet. Meanwhile, for a netizen named Ashok Singh Gharcha, the army chief became a Sanghi chief who betrayed the secular credentials of the country. The delusional tweeter remarked, Sanghi chiefs of the Indian Army, Bipin Rawat and V.K. Singh, betrayed the secular ethos of the Indian Army. They leave behind a fraternity beginning to be divided on caste and community. May the successors stop this trend. The reaction from Islamists and Khalistanis was expected, but perhaps it was the reaction of former Indian Army officers that surprised many. One Colonel Baljit Bakshi took to Twitter and rejoiced the news of the accident of the CDS. In the now deleted tweet, Bakshi, without taking a name, targeted the CDS and said, Karma has its own way of dealing with people. Then, other senior army officials like Lieutenant Colonel Anil Duhoon, who despite donning the same uniform as the CDS, took the opportunity to settle scores. General Bipin Rawat took charge as India's first CDS in January of 2019. The position was set up with the aim of integrating the three services, the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. The government has announced his successor would be picked soon. However, his sudden demise has left the country in a state of mourning and shock. Very few love their country in the way CDS Rawat did, and he will go down in the history books as the leader who took the fight to the country's enemies in their own backyard and emerged victorious every single time.